Welcome to the Now or Never show. I am your host, Kimberly Trapani. This is an amazing time of year, and I have been hyping up business manager, and he's going to tell you all about what he manages. Musician of 30 years. So super excited to have Freddie Sweet on air. Welcome, Freddie.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for coming on air. And I've been excited all week to have you on the part one show. And we have you again next week, too.
Yes.
We're going to get right into it and dive even deeper on your history of 30 years. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, you put on quite the show. Tell me about it.
Well, a band Funkalicious, we started about 15 years ago. I was working with a lot of major artists for many years since I was real young. And one day was leaving a show in Palm Springs, California. It was the last day. And a voice told me, you need to start a band. And it said a funk band. And I was like, wow, I was kind of taken back because I never dreamed of starting a funk band between you and I. But when I did, I started right away. 2 days after that, I had a full band. I started calling my friends and asking, you guys want to be a funk band? And they were like, what? And each one of them said, I'm not going to use the word. They said, H, yeah. And so in 2 days, believe it or not, I had a full band with all the pieces, percussions, bass, 2 keyboards, drums. My youngest son was a teenager at the time, and he was like, Dad, I want to sing. And to keep him out of trouble, I actually put him in the band. So
wow.
Yeah, so
I grew up with Solid Gold and remember that. I know I'm aging myself. I don't really want to tell people my age, but is funk music, the genre, a lot like the Solid Gold days?
Actually, believe it or not, it was a little bit before the Solid Gold days, but I was a baby when it first came out. I was a baby, but I remember into the 80s, my parents played. They played all kind of music, but for some reason, like if they had a party, of course we had to stay in the room, but they played funk music. they play funk music. They didn't really like disco. For some reason, they did not like disco. They played funk music. I like I said, I grew up. My parents played everything. They played rock, they played jazz, they played blues. But for some reason, as a kid, it was just something about funk music that me and my cousin and my younger brother, it was just something that just automatically when you played the music, it just moved you. You know, your butt start moving, your feet start moving for just the spirit. I guess it's they said it's a spiritual type of music, the beats, because if it wasn't for funk music, it wouldn't be any rap. Rap would not exist. That's the truth. Everybody.
Absolutely. And I love the hat and the glasses and your
Oh, thank you.
costume that
That's
you're wearing.
this is the Funkalicious. This is the hat. Let me show you. The hat is one of my creations. I made this hat.
Wow, that's amazing. And a lot goes in behind the scenes to costuming and performing. Can you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about the performances and what you do on stage? Because I've seen you in animal costumes and things, and you got to tell our audience all about that.
Well, I was trained by legendary entertainers, and one of my mentors was Roger Troutman from Zap, and God rest his soul, he's in heaven right now. But he used to always tell me when I was singing with Rolls Royce, um, he used to always we were on tour with them, so I would always ask Roger questions. He had a big clothes rack, him and Lester and and I would always ask them questions. Really, Roger. I would ask Roger questions. His youngest brother they called him Zap. So we Terry. But Roger took to me because um, Roger they have a show. If you've never seen Zap, you gotta see. They have a full show. So we kind of took some of the ideas that Roger was telling me. Roger said, "Be like a three-ring circus. You know, you can play and you can dance." He said, "But then you got to make sure that you have a complete show with the costumes." He said, "Those are the biggest bands. If you ever notice, the biggest bands, they all have costumes, they have routines, they had a complete show." So he told me, last thing he said to me, he said, "When you hit that stage, you set the stage on fire. When you leave it, you leave the stage smoldering." So we took that and I took it and I incorporated it to my band, what Roger taught me. And not just Roger, I had tons of influences, by me being a professional background singer. I got a chance to meet a lot of professional entertainers from around the world, not just here in America, but they taught me how to put on a show. So I took that to the band, and everybody created their own character. Like I created my character. I had an uncle that was a military sergeant, drill sergeant, when I was a teenager, and he used to call me he used to call me Freddie Sweet, and I hated that name. I hated it. I completely hated it. And he used to say, "Who do you think you are, Freddie Sweet or somebody?" Because as a teenager, we used to have a lot of girls call us because we were musicians. And so he said, "Who do you think you are, Freddie Sweet or somebody?" And I told him,
That's like me with Kimmy. I can't stand the nails on the chalkboard.
yeah.
And
So
thank you to your uncle for his service. I appreciate
yeah,
it.
and I kid you not, I told my mother, I said, "Can you please tell him stop calling me that? Stop calling me that." So when I started the band, my cousin said to me, he said, "You know what? I know you hate that name, but it'll go perfect with what you're doing now." And I was like, yeah. And so they started calling me Freddie Sweet because of the way I dressed. And the rest is history. Like I said, it was because of my background, people that I started idolizing. And then, like I said, when I started touring, I got a chance to meet, oh my God, so many people. I consider myself truly blessed. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a business like no other.
exactly. And like I said, even till this day, a lot of the major bands that are out there, they were like my big brothers. They taught me so much and gave me so much advice. Even the late great James Brown, I got a chance to meet James Brown. He was funny as hell. Excuse my he was funny as heck. But he gave me some knowledge. He said, yeah, continue to dance. He said, but with your music, he said, make it fun. He said, make it about fun and having fun. And that way it relate to people will always be a fan of yours no matter what. But he also
Absolutely.
told me if you do not believe in yourself, nobody's going to believe in you. So, but he told me the number one thing is to have fun, come up with some good songs, that people can relate to. He said even kids can relate to. Because I remember as a little bitty little kid, when I was like 6 years old, my older cousin parents were playing James Brown, and people would be out in the middle of the street trying to do the mashed potatoes or whatever it was when I was little. And
Absolutely. And this generation doesn't know what that is now. And
no,
has your uncle brought you into entertainment, or what specifically made you decide to start a band and work with celebrities and perform all over?
oh well, look, I'm going to tell you like this. I was destined to do music. I knew my stepdad had a friend that came over to our house when I was 6 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday. And he had a guitar, and my stepfather used to play harmonica, so they started their little jam session, and I was standing there watching it, but I was just amazed at the guys that was playing the guitar. And um, and so he kept playing. They were playing, had a little jam session, and then he stopped and he said to me, "You want to play it?" And I said, "You're kidding." He said, "No." He said, "Come sit over here." And he put this big giant thing on me. It was huge to me. And he gave me the pick. I said, "What is this?" He said, "It's a pick. This is called a guitar pick." So I started strumming, and he told me it was too big for my little fingers. But I started strumming it and strumming, and then he said, "Oh, that's pretty good." And so then he took it off of me, and then he left. He left, and my mom was like, "Ooh, you like that?" I said, "Mama, like this is
Wow.
what I want to do for the rest of my life." I said, "I want to be a guitar player," and I said, "I hope you don't get mad what I'm getting ready to say." And she said, "No, go ahead." I said, "Mom, he sucked." And my mom laughed so hard. And then 6 years later, my grandparents bought me my first guitar when I was 12.
That's amazing. I love it. I remember having a guitar when I was a kid, but I didn't appreciate the art of the guitar.
It
What
is
did you think when you got a guitar at 12?
I had no. I was so happy. I started crying. I remember it. My grandfather was like, grandmother was like, no. They were telling. My mom was telling them how I was making guitars out of cardboard. I would because I was an art major, so I drew a guitar in a big cardboard box and I made a guitar out of it. And so she told them, and my grandfather said to me, he said, I want you to come over. I want you to show us your guitar. So I showed my family was amazed. They was like, wow, that's pretty good. And so next thing I know, I had a gift sitting. It wasn't even Christmas. I had a gift that was gift wrap, the whole 9 yards, and it was an acoustic guitar. That was my first guitar. I had no clue how to tune it, how to put the strings on it, or anything. I just was so happy to have it. And then I started playing songs on the radio, trying to learn how to play the songs, but I didn't know how to play. So I just started on one string, two strings. until I started learning some of the melodies. And then,
Then you
I,
learn chords, right?
no, I didn't know chords at that time. I didn't even know what chords were. But what happened was I was tuning the guitar too tight, and the back and the guitar folded over the front of it because the strings are so tight. It made the guitar fold over in the front, and I was so upset. And my mother laughed. She said, "What did you do?" I said, "I have no idea, Mom." I said, "I guess I was tuning the strings too tight, and the front of it bent to the front." It was pretty funny. So
That's
my mother,
amazing. And when I did voice lessons, my voice teacher toured with some of your people, like Jimmy Buffett and stuff. Some people in this generation wouldn't know. And Chuck Artizone and I worked with someone named Ted Nugent and his
wow.
wife in a film production. Can you tell me who was the most influential person in your life to get you started and have you be successful, celebrity or no celebrity?
Well, I number one, I always lived my parents. One thing I can say, my parents, they played everything. The music that they played, I just fell in love with music. And one of the biggest influence, believe it or not, was Peter Frampton.
Wow.
Some of my friends don't even know that. Well, me being a guitar player, people was, yeah, you need to learn who these guitar players are. Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, all of these famous people. I used to, when I first started playing music, I played rock, believe it or not. I played rock music. I listened to Kiss. I listened to the Eagles. Oh my God, I just loved rock because it was a guitar based. A lot of music was guitar based. But yes, believe it or not, Peter Frampton and Nile Rodgers and B.B. King, Jimi Hendrix, those were my idols, when I was coming up as a guitar player, and I just loved guitar players, period. And I got a chance to meet some of the legendary players before I even became a professional musician. I got a chance to meet BB King, God rest his soul, before he passed away. But that was one of my dreams, is to actually meet BB King. I got a chance to hang out with Bo Diddley. It's a fascinating story how that happened. But when I was a teenager, there was a performing arts school here in Los Angeles, in the heart of South Central Los Angeles, that a lot of people didn't know about.
Wow.
And me, my brother, my cousin, we are the only musicians that was in our family at the time. We had one cousin that was older that played trombone, but he's much older than us, so we didn't get a chance to really, get anything from him. But anybody else in the family, we had no musicians. So we
Wow.
all were around the same age. So we ended up joining the Young Saints Performing Arts Academy. And when I tell you, that was one of the greatest things to happen to us in our lives, because the instructors there work with some of the legendary, historic musicians, singers, and actors. They work with Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier, Bill
Wow.
Cosby, Lena Horne, Sarah Vaughan, the Tommy Dorsey Band. And we didn't know what that was. We didn't have a clue. Ella Fitzgerald, um, uh, I can go down a list of all the people that we worked with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, at
Yeah.
that time, they were old enough to be our grandparents. But we had, like I said, this was in the '80s, so we had no
We're
idea.
really dating ourselves, aren't we?
Yeah, but you know what? But you know what? I think about it now, but when I'm around people, they don't know my age. I
Yeah.
don't ever tell my age, because I look 20, 30 years younger than what I actually am. But I don't say anything, because the legends used to always tell me good music doesn't have an age if you know what you're doing. That's just for the market, if people want want to try to sell you as whatever. But nowadays everything is different. It's totally different. Bill Withers told
Yes.
he didn't make it until he was in his 30s or 40s.
Absolutely and
You,
definitely.
you
And
see
I
what
can't
I'm
even believe you. I only have 2 weeks with you, but it's an amazing 2 weeks. And we're going to dive a lot deeper next week with you. And hopefully you can play a little music or perform next week. Hopefully we can work that out. But can you tell me about your award you just received?
Oh, the award I just received, I said a seed. It's a show. It's called it's the Oscar Gala celebration, and I received the award because I was a producer. I was the producer of the gala, and there was a lot going on. So much. There's so much going on this gala. So last year, a friend of mine's. Let me rewind it real quick, and I don't know if you have much time. Let me rewind it. Years ago, it was a show called the Samira Show. She's huge in India, India, and the Soviet Union. She's huge there, and so she's like the Oprah of the Middle East. So a friend of mine's, Retha Gray, she was a co-star with Betty White on that show, Bad Seniors or whatever it was called, where they were doing pranks on people. It was a
The
big show.
Golden Girls.
Yeah. And so what happened was Retha boyfriend was like my mentor at the Young Saints, and I had seen her in many years, and she found me on Facebook and we kept in touch. So she said, "Fred, you think your band want to be on this show?" And we're like, "Yeah." So we went on the show, and it was I forgot the other stars that was on the show, but they laughed so hard when we came on there. We were making everybody laugh. We performed on the show, and Samira and her husband, he owned the television station, fell in love with us. So we became like family. And to make a long story short, we lost contact because we Funkalicious we were working all the time, and so we lost contact. And then her husband passed away, and then she's a cancer survivor, and
Oh,
she said
wow.
she scoured the internet trying to find us, and she finally found us on Facebook and called me and said, "This is what we're doing now. I'm doing a show. Would you like to come and be a part of it?" I said, "Yeah, I would love to." So that's how I ended up on that show, but she wanted to give the staff appreciation, awards because of us making it a success. So she had this huge party in Laguna Niguel, and we went there. Only a couple of us went, but that's where I received the award for achievement. Um,
That's amazing. Congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
How long does it take for you to put on a costume and makeup before a performance?
Oh, I've been doing this for a while. It depends on, really, it all depends on the gig because I have over 90 different outfits and hats that I made.
Wow.
I have one hat that I didn't make but
Oh
bought it.
my goodness.
I altered it, but all of my hats are, and I don't, and like I said, I was an art major, and I don't draw any of them out, none of them. I just make them. God just give me the vision, and I just make them.
Wow, that's
Let me see if I can kind
amazing.
of show you. This is one of them. This is just one of many.
I love it. I love it. And tell me what goes behind your costuming. What kind of creative brain do you have to put on to make your hats and your costumes and put them together?
Well, what it is I whatever the vision is, like I said, I make everything from scratch. So I go when I go downtown, I go to the garment district and I just, look at stuff that's kind of different. I try not to emulate anybody, when I'm making my clothes. I like I said, it's not like see, look at the shirt. It's the material.
Love it. I love it.
It's just the material. and every, like I said, you see, I don't know if you can really see the glasses,
I
but
love the glasses. I want a pair. We gotta sell your you sell your costumes on your website, right?
no, you know, Kimberly, I don't know what. It's a long story. When we get into the next segment of it, um, I kind of put things on hiatus because we need to revamp, because I don't know if I can say this on air.
You can say whatever you want. You're
signed a
Freddie
bad
Sweet.
management deal that they didn't do anything for us. But before we signed that deal, I was doing everything myself. And we had another manager, but we signed with the management company, and they almost basically shelved us. So this is
Oh
to
my goodness.
younger people. Be careful of people you pull in your circle, and all of those things
Absolutely.
that people are saying are true. You got to have somebody that's excited with you, and that's going to be honest and humble is the key, because we were doing tons of shows and concerts to nothing. We
You
did
got to be careful. There's many stalkers and scammers out there
yeah.
using people's names and that kind of thing. And we'll talk about that. Hold that thought. I'm going to take a short commercial break. But when we come back, we're going to build the anticipation of Freddie Sweet and who he really worked with. But when we come back, we're going to dig a little deeper. Stay tuned. We're back on the Now or Never show, and we have Freddie Sweet. We love every single moment of having Freddie Sweet on the air. This is like super cool. And I grew up, my first concert was Bobby Brown.
Wow.
Something called RPI, and that's a technology school. And I went with friends and a sister, and it just was cool back then. And so loved growing up with him, and then learned a little bit to intend towards chick flickism, if that's a word. Can you
Look,
tell me?
if it's not a word, it's one now. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being original at
And
all.
we'll get into your BMI and ASCAP, and most of our audience doesn't know what that is, so we need to educate them. But tell me a little bit about your story and what you brought up before commercial and what you want to tell me. Yes, you can say everything on air that you want to say on air. Tell me about the ins and outs, the pros and cons of this business with being in the public eye, and how it can be a little bit, if for lack of a better word, cutthroat, and what we have to be working cautious of.
Well, first things first, you got to believe in the Most High, and then one thing I learned about this music business is it is a business, and it can teach you a valuable lesson, or it can ruin your life. The thing about it is getting people around you that are genuine people that are going to do what they say they're going to do. But of course, this business is full of fruit flakes and nuts.
Yes, I found that out the hard way.
Yeah, and you know who told me that? I'm gonna tell you a legendary, God rest his soul, Paul Mooney told me that years ago. He said, "Fred, I just hate to tell you, you're a singer and you're a background singer. This business is full of, always remember this, this business is full of fruit, grapes, and nuts. And at first I laughed because he was a comedian, a brilliant writer, you know, comedian. But I knew him and I knew his sons. But I was young, like I said at that time. But it's knowing, getting kind of educate yourself as you go along. I was blessed. Me and my brother Reggie, we were blessed because we had people that gravitated to us because we were kind of like teenage music prodigies, you know, when we were young. And so they took us under their wings and taught us a lot of the business. You know, John Barnes played on every record that Michael Jackson ever
Yes.
wrote. You know, John Barnes was his piano keyboard player, whatever he did. And John took me and my brother under his wings. And when we got our first record deal, um, he took us under our wing. He was our mentor, that because he had dealt with so many record companies and different things. He taught us how to negotiate our own record deals. And
What were you thinking about when you got your first record deal? Did you realize what that meant at the time?
oh, let me tell you. Well, see, we got to get deep into it because let me tell you something. When we were shopping our deals, we didn't have an attorney. We were shopping our own deals because we had already been educated by some of the best musicians out there, you know, and they played with everybody from Quincy Jones. Man, we were, like I said, we were blessed in this business. And so we were going to the record companies without any representation because we were already educated on what to do. So we went to Capitol Records and we talked to the vice. I think Mike was the president of Black Music at that time, and we walked in there with 6 powerhouse songs. And so the assistant, she came and listened to it. She was blown away. She jumped out of her seat, started dancing.
Oh my goodness.
But we weren't Funkalicious at that time. We had a band called LA Traffic Jam at that time, and
Wow.
so it started teaching us a lot. So we were in the Doors, New Artists on the Shelf. The name of our group was called Tuesday, Featuring Afternoon. It was just me and my brothers and my cousins singing and dancing. We were doing flips on top of each other and throwing each other in the air into a split, and you know.
My
but
goodness.
but it taught us the business and it taught me the business. And so as time went on, we started getting a little older. We were like, well, we need to do something. Somebody got to make it in this business so we can pull each other in. So we disbanded our band and our singing group, and then we went on and started doing other things. But um, me and my brother, we had won an ASCAP and BMI award when we were young. This is
Wow.
before they even had trophies, you know. And then, so later on, they told me, said, "Well, you guys have those. Why don't you guys, you can call us and we'll turn it into a trophy." And I'm going to do that. But my brother is a professional musician as well, and I've been begging him to come join
Amazing.
Funkalicious, and he keeps saying I will, but he's doing other things. He worked with Wayne Brady, you know, as his road manager. He was the MD for All for One when they won a Grammy. I swear, my brother was their music director.
That's
So,
amazing. And what goes into making a powerhouse song to wow somebody that led to your 30-year career and then later on Funkalicious?
well, I shouldn't say. Well, it had. Well, it hadn't been 30 altogether. Now, I mean, that I've done, and
We're
you look
only
at it,
25, right?
yeah. No, but I started. Like I said, I started young. I started young, and and as time progressed, when I started Funkalicious, it was like I said, it was probably 15 years, probably 16 years ago now. Thinking about it, um, we just wanted to write music that made people happy, you know, made people have fun. Our main goal is to when you come to a Funkalicious concert, you know, we want you to leave happy. said, man, I had a good time
Absolutely,
dancing.
absolutely. And we need
Yeah.
a lot of happiness in this world right now. And that's amazing. You have that one of those intentions for your company, Funkalicious, the new generation of funk.
Yes. And believe it or not, Kimberly, we have a major following of kids. When we do festivals, I kid you not, literally, they are at the front of the stage laughing and dancing. We were performing at in Sacramento. They have one of the biggest festivals in California there. So um, we were performing there one time, and we noticed, we were like, man, there's an awful lot of kids at the front of the stage. I didn't think it was because of my candy stand. I have a candy. We give out hundreds of pieces of candy.
That's where you got the sweet name from, giving out the candy and the cookies to
Well,
the
I had to
kids,
put it
right?
all, we had to put it all together. That's our gimmick. So we had to put it all together. But we noticed that one song we play is called Snakes and Snails. And
Okay.
the kids love that song. They go nuts. And years ago, when we were writing it, my daughter, she was little, real little, and my nieces and nephews, and I hadn't even put any lyrics, so I just had the hook. And they were walking around the house when I was playing it, writing to us, snail, puppy dog, their little voices, and they're dancing and spot. And so when we finally did it live at the Sacramento State Fair, this lady posted on our page, her child couldn't even walk yet. The baby climbed out of the stroller and walked to the stage, and she did a video and it went viral. The little baby was getting his groove on. It was funny, but we
That's
were
so
like,
great that the kids are getting into it too. And
yeah,
we're building the anticipation. So we're not gonna just give away who you're managing right now. We'll get into that in part two. But let's talk about, I've seen you perform on stage in your videos and in YouTube. What do you do? Like, do you change costumes in the middle of performance? How do you change so quick? And how do
well,
you dance around and make it look so good?
well, the thing about it, it depends on what time we have on stage. Because normally I don't change costumes. I try not to sweat it out if I don't dance too hard. But it's just the composure. Guys like, are you gonna change, man? You sweat, your hat is falling down over your face.
Yeah, I've been a little bit like, I've been at film festivals showing films and stuff, and it's hard to not sweat. If you have a tip for me on how I don't look so drawn after all nighters of
Yeah,
performances, do you have the magic formula?
yeah. Well, the thing about it is, we try to make sure we have a lot of water on stage. but but it's just something that I developed. I try to do things in moderation when we're up there. It depends. If we have an hour and a half long show, I
Okay.
said, you know what? From now on, I might have to change to one of my other costumes. So we have skits that we throw in there when we have a long show, and then and like I said, it's just a matter of keeping my composure, and just we like I said, we do other things. Other people in the band, they have skits that they do, to kind of take away from the time. But other than that, we just do what we do. The longest show we ever done was 2 hours almost, and
Do you
that's I
tour?
realize that's a lot of time. You
Do you
know,
tour around the world, or just do you stay in California? Where do you perform your shows before
well,
COVID? COVID, we won't even get into that. But
yeah,
where do you
we
perform your shows? Have you gone out of California to other states, or
yes, we last year we had just started our movement to other states. We did a concert in Las Vegas. Uh,
nice?
it was called the Craig Ranch Arena, and our show is called the Funk Explosion. But we were before the pandemic. Oh man, we were just getting ready to take off like a rocket. Then the pandemic hit. Everything went the wrong direction. You know, we still try
Yeah.
to get together, but it was hard. But now we're ready to rock and roll because we have booking agents, a booking agent that wants to book us opening for a lot of major bands like Earth, Wind and Fire, you know, Confunctions, a lot of the funk bands, you know, that are out there.
Absolutely.
And they're mostly the older people, even though they're old enough to be our parents. But, you know, who cares? I hate to look, and I know they probably gonna kick my butt when, man, Chris, you don't have to say that, but it's the truth, you know. It's the truth. So my thing is, yeah, we getting ready. We were just getting ready to hit the road. This agency had called us, and the agency went out of business during a pandemic.
Wow.
I
It's
have,
hard to stay afloat in the entertainment business and every business, but we're
yeah.
still
It,
here, Freddie Sweet and I.
so now, so now it's just we're ready. You know, it's we revamping everything, and we're ready to hit the road. We're ready right.
Awesome. If you were to help one group of people, who would it be and why?
Um, that's a difficult question because I'm a people person. I don't believe in color. I don't believe in. I believe in people, and I believe in spirits. I would like to help the younger generation to appreciate live music. You know, and
Absolutely.
and
We're not too far from Woodstock, Freddie.
oh, you're not. Oh, that, man, that would be our dream come true to perform at Woodstock. Man, that would be our dream come true. You know,
And
watching
they
it. You know,
canceled it every year for a couple of years because of COVID. And yeah, educate our audience about why that would be so amazing to perform at Woodstock, if you will.
well, I should say this generation now is a different generation, but to understand coming together with many different types of music. See, a lot of people think Woodstock was only a certain type of music. No, it wasn't. It was all genres of music, and people that I know that I met that's been in Woodstock said it is one of the greatest things you can ever imagine in life to go to because you get that and everything's live. You get a live perspective of everything that goes on there as far as meeting new people, you know. I actually got a chance to watch some of the documentary on YouTube, and there was a lot of things that they didn't do right, but people nobody actually complained even with some of the things that happened. It rained, you know, they had no shelter, but people were doing making out what they because they just wanted to be a part of history. And so that would be still would be a great thing. Like here we have Coachella, and I hear different things about it, you know. And my son that sings in our band, he works security out there, but he loves the atmosphere, just being out there. But Woodstock, mm,
Yeah,
me,
absolutely. And I was going to ask you, but I'm going to save this question for part two about who you worked with and what it was like working with those bands. Let's move on to what's on your bucket list after 20, age 25. Yeah. What's on your bucket list that you haven't done that needs to be accomplished before you retire as a musician?
hmm, my bucket list is to make $1 billion. No, I'm just playing. No, I want to continue being successful in the music business. Period. You know, done it all. Had money. You know, fancy cars, the whole 9 yards. I just want to make people happy. That's
That's
what I'm working with.
amazing. And we were talking about that for a little while. And you want to talk about the love of God and the higher power and why you're inspired to worship God first?
Well, I don't have a choice because looking back on my life, I had a lot of ups and downs. I never did drugs. I never was a drunk. I was none of that.
Yeah.
Um, but my journey through music, when I stuck with music, it was like a miracle. Things was happening, and I always
Absolutely.
try to be positive. I had people telling me, you know, be honest and truthful when you're doing music. You know, don't have an ego. Stay humble because you stay humble.
Absolutely.
Arsenio Hall told me years before he even had his show. I knew Arsenio. Like I said, I was a teenager, and he was on this show called Solid Gold.
I
And
remember that.
he was a comedian. He was a comedian for the show, and there was a dancer on there. His name was Coolio.
Yes, absolutely.
He was the original Coolio, and I used to play guitar for him. He put together a little band, and we were at Disneyland for a year on the elevator stage. So that's how I met Arsenio, and we were always cool. And like I said, as time go on in your journey, um, you lose contact with people on their journey. But Arsenio told me always stay humble, don't have no ego. There's a lot of people in the entertainment business got egos, and he said it will come and go. He said, but the ones that stay humble, and he told me, and I'll never forget, he said to me, he said, I can walk down the middle of the street and full of people. He said, because of how I carry myself. He said, I shake hands. I'll stop and have a conversation with him on Melrose. He said, but people like Eddie Murphy can't do that. And I was like, really? He
Absolutely.
said, no. He said, because of how they started their career off.
Yes.
And probably now it might be a
Mhm.
little different, but back then, no, he would have got mobbed. But Arsenio told me, stay humble. And he said, and everything will go the right way for you. But he said, and always keep God in what you do. And and I told him, I said, I will. And honestly, I have God. I tell people this: God has taken me around the world doing music. I've done umpteen television shows, and I didn't pay a dime for nothing.
Absolutely. And I learned from Full Sail University when I got my master's in entertainment to stay humble.
Yeah,
And if you don't have God as a grounded beneath your feet, you're going to lose your identity in this business. It's
yeah,
so important.
yeah,
And like you, I've never smoked a joint, I've never done an illegal drug, but my friends and family members were dying of drugs. So
yeah,
it's so important to have stay true to yourself, humbleness about you. That you're so right on about that. And
yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to part 2. But before, I need 10 more minutes of your time if we can have it.
No, no, no. That's why
It
I'm here.
just and I appreciate this so much. And you've sold a lot of CDs and over the years with artists and have been the catalyst in getting artists in their fans to purchase them. How has how have we transformed in music from 45s and 8 tracks to online streaming now, and how is it helping the musicians?
Well, what it's doing is helping them to put their own money back into their pockets. But the problem, well, let me rewind it. Back in the day, an average person didn't know the process of getting a 45 or LP actually made, you know. And then as time went on, people started getting educated. Okay, you need to get in a DJ pool, and then they'll some of their friends will tell them, well, this is where you go to get the vinyl pressed up ad. You got to do this, you got to do that. But the problem was at that time the record labels were the one had the market cornered. So only way you can get your stuff really played was to get your stuff to the DJs. Either the radio station or a DJ that's playing at a local club, and then you got in a DJ pool, and then they would get your LPs or 45s was out by then. They were way out. That was really before my time, way before my time. I came in when they were doing the LPs. The DJs were still having their crates of records, and then they started using CDs. You know, um, but in order to make your money, then you had to be smart. You had the rappers. One thing I can do, I take my hat off to the rappers because the record companies were turning them down, and they were like, "Okay, how do we find out to how can we get our stuff pressed up?" And so a couple of people worked at the record labels. Their friend, oh, well, you need to go here. This is Rainbow Records. What is Rainbow Records? Well, they press records here, and they burn CDs. What? So you guys need to build your own website. You need to do this, and the rest is history. Everybody starts saying, "Well, you need to get a distribution deal." You get a distribution deal, it's a wrap. You're on your way and running, and that's what they did. A lot of the rappers opened the door for independent artists. That's the truth. I can't say nothing else. Things. A lot of people don't like rap music, but what they did was for independent artists they open the door for you to be able to do your own thing, and that's the 100% truth. And then the rest was history. And I don't put nobody down because
Yes, absolutely. Lots of cuss words,
yeah,
but
I
yeah,
don't, we
not
don't touch.
my style, but I can appreciate rap and I can appreciate Eminem. Yes, yes, I can appreciate you, but can you talk about how that transformed from
Well,
funk to rap to what we have today?
well, everything, like I said, if it wasn't for funk music, seriously, if you listen to all the major big artists, from Puffy to Biggie to Snoop, Ice Cube, every last one of them, Nas, I can go down a list. If you listen to their music, every last one of them have funk music that they rapped over. Every last one, that all the way back to James Brown. The first rap record that came out when I was young was Rapper's Delight. You know, and that was she.
Delight, yes, we know.
Yeah, that was Nile Rodgers' song. When he was with Chic. And it was good time. And then go on to continue on. It's just what it is. That's funk music. It's something about funk music that's soul. It touches your soul, even if you're just standing there and it's playing, and you start moving. You're like, why am I moving? Your booty start moving, your feet start tapping for no reason, because it's, believe it or not, they won't say nothing, but it's the biggest selling genre in the history of
Sure, sure.
music.
And it's very therapeutic to listen to music.
Yes,
It blows neurons in the brain when we're so stressed in life. People
yeah,
love to, it gets us dancing, it gets us humming, it gets us in a good mood. It's very therapeutic to
yes,
have music.
yes, and it's
Um,
it's from the Most High. It's from God. Music is, and I love all types of music, And we wrote a song called "Have a Nice Day."
cool. I want it for the next show.
Yeah, so I'll sing it for you, but I need to get you the music. Um, like I said, our album is called "Keep It Hot," and we have different songs. We have funk songs. We have a couple of ballads on there, and we have a couple of R&B songs. But it's mostly funk and we have a little rock in.
Amazing.
But
And what projects do you have coming up?
well, I like I said, I wear many hats. So, uh,
Mini
and
hats, okay.
I mean that, and I mean that literally.
Okay.
But July the 21st at the Microsoft Theater. Um, I'm part of the promotional team.
That's awesome.
And the show that the concert we put together is called a Feel Good Concert, and it's with UB40, Men at Work, and Smash Mouth.
Very cool. And we're going to get more into that later. So hold that thought. How would one book you?
For as Funkalicious, go to Funk.
Funkalicious and your top secret pants.
Well, we have a website. It's funkaliciousband.com. You can go there to book us. If you want to, if you would like to book a concert, go to events, the events unlimited.com. I'm sorry, at gmail.com. Sorry about that. Or you can contact me. We also we do many events, and like Funkalicious, we've done tons of concerts, different events. Oh man, I could go down a list of all the things that we've done. But we're Feel Good. Came up with that concept. I came up with that concept. The Feel Good concert is because of my band, and that's the model of our concert for the promotional company that I work for. But Funkalicious is who it is. It's me because God told me to start this band, and then I got a profound story to tell you about the song "Have a Nice Day" and how it came about. So I guess we'll talk about that on the next show.
Yes, on part 2 and next segment, we'll get more into detail about your performance encounters. Can you leave us with a quote?
The quote is, "Keep God first, always."
Thank you, Freddie Sweet, for being on the show, and I'll look forward to the next segment next week, same time, right here on the Now or Never show. Be safe, Freddie Sweet, and have a good week. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
Likewise, happy Mother's Day to all the ladies. I got to throw the funk sign up there for you guys. Said George Clinton would kick my behind. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, Freddie.
You're welcome. Hey, Kinley, thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for being on.